The first thing I noticed was the way she smiled. Not warm, not surprised, but controlled. It's like she had been waiting for this moment longer than I had even known about it. "You're not invited?" She didn't say it loudly. She didn't need to. The words carried just enough to reach the people standing closest, and just enough for them to pretend they hadn't heard. I stood there for a second, holding the envelope that had brought me here. Gold trim, embossed lettering. My name printed clearly on the front. Not a mistake, not a guess, an invitation. Or at least, that's what I thought it was. I looked down at it once, then back at her. "You sent this?" I said calmly, not accusing, not confused. It's just stating a fact. Her smile didn't change. If anything, it sharpened. "I sent a lot of things," she replied lightly, brushing an invisible piece of dust off her dress. "That doesn't mean they were all meant for you." A couple of people nearby shifted slightly, uncomfortable, but not enough to step in. No one ever steps in during moments like this. Not when it's easier to watch. Not when it's safer to stay quiet. Behind her, the venue glowed. Soft golden lights. Music drifting through the open doors. Laughter. Glasses clinking. Everything about it screamed exclusivity. Carefully selected guests, carefully controlled access. And apparently, carefully chosen who didn't belong. "You should go," she added, her tone softer, now but not kinder. "Before you make this awkward." Awkward. That word always comes up when someone wants to justify something they know is wrong. Make it about the reaction, not the action. I exhaled slowly. Not angry, not embarrassed, just aware, because this wasn't about the invitation. Not really. This was about control. About deciding who gets seen and who gets erased. "I'm already here," I said. Simple. Neutral. Enough to make her eyes narrow just slightly. A crack. Small, but real. For a brief second, the smile slipped, then came back. Stronger. Colder. "You don't understand," she said, leaning in just enough so only I could hear her next words. "This night isn't for people like you anymore. People like me." Almost asked what that meant. Almost, but I didn't need to. Because sometimes people reveal more in what they imply than what they say directly. A couple walked past us into the venue. They handed their invitations to security. A quick glance, a nod, and they were let in. No questions. No hesitation, just smooth, effortless acceptance. My sister followed my gaze, then looked back at me. And for the first time, she gestured slightly toward the entrance, toward the security standing there, silent, observing, waiting. "If you don't leave," she said quietly, "they'll make you." There it was, not a threat, a plan. Something already decided, already set in motion. I glanced toward the security guards. They hadn't moved yet, but they were watching now more closely, not me, her. That was the first thing that didn't add up, but she didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and thought she still had control. That was always her strength, confidence, even when it was misplaced, even when it was about to collapse. "Go ahead," she said, stepping back slightly, giving herself space like she was about to watch something unfold. "Show them your invitation." I looked at the envelope in my hand again, then back at her, and toward the entrance. Timing. It's always about timing. Too early, and it means nothing. Too late, and it loses everything. But right now felt perfect. So I took a step forward. Toward the security, everything began to shift. The moment I stepped toward the entrance, everything slowed, not physically, but in that way where every small detail becomes sharper, clearer, important. The guards straightened slightly as I approached, not aggressively, not suspiciously, just attentive. That was the second thing that didn't match her story. If I wasn't invited, why weren't they stopping me already? "Invitation," one of them said, his tone professional, neutral. I handed him the envelope without a word. Behind. Me. I could feel it. My sister. Watching, waiting, expecting not. Just for me to be turned away, but for it to happen publicly. for it to become a moment, a scene, something she could control, something she could win. The guard opened the envelope carefully, not rushed, not dismissive. He took out the card, looked at it, then looked at me, then looked again. That pause, small but noticeable, long enough for the air behind me to shift. "What is it?" my sister called out lightly, her voice carrying just enough confidence to hide the tension underneath. "Problem with the name?" A couple of nearby guests slowed, their steps not stopping completely, but enough to listen, enough to witness. The guard didn't respond to her, not immediately. Instead, he turned slightly toward the second guard and showed him the card. A silent exchange. A looked out recognition, and then everything changed. Both guards straightened. Fully this time, not just attentive, respectful, the kind of respect you don't fake. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you're dealing with. "Yes, sir," the first guard said quietly, handing the invitation back to me with both hands. "Sir. Not wait here, not step aside." "Sir?" Behind me, I heard it a small, confused laugh. My sister? Short, uncertain, like her brain hadn't caught up to what her ears just heard. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said, stepping forward now, her heels clicking against the floor with forced confidence. "It's not supposed to be on the list." The guards didn't move, didn't even look at her there. Tension stayed on me, waiting not for explanation, but for direction. That was the moment the shift came visible. Not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. "I can assure you," she continued, her voice tightening just slightly, "if you check again, you'll see we've already checked," second guard said calmly. Firm, final, no room for argument, no space for correction, just certainty. Her steps slowed. Just a little, her expression flickered just a little, because this wasn't how it was supposed to go. Not in front of people, not in front of the guests, now watching more openly, not in front of a situation she thought she had complete control over. I turned slightly, just enough to face her. Not fully, not confrontational, just present. "You said I wasn't invited," I said calmly. No emotion, no edge, just truth. Her lips parted, closed, then pressed into a thin line, because now she had a choice. Double down, or step back. And she had never been good at stepping back. "This is ridiculous," she said sharply, the control in her voice starting to crack. "You're making a mistake." "No," the first guard replied. "We're not." Silence followed. But this time, it wasn't neutral. It was heavy. Watching, waiting, because now the question had changed. It wasn't about whether I belonged there anymore. It was about why she was trying so hard to prove that I didn't. And for the first time since I arrived, she didn't have an answer ready. Asterisk for a moment. No one moved. Not the guards, not the guests, not even her, because the situation had shifted. But her mind hadn't caught up yet. "This doesn't make any sense," she said, her voice lower now, tighter, like she was trying to hold on to control. That was already slipping. There has to be an error, something external, something safe to blame, because accepting the truth would mean accepting she was wrong. The guard didn't argue, didn't explain. He simply turned slightly, toward me again, waiting, that same quiet respect, still in his posture. Like this wasn't a situation he needed to fix, just one he needed to follow. Behind us, more people had started to notice, not openly staring, but watching, listening, the kind of attention that spreads without permission. "What's going on?" Someone whispered. "I thought she was hosting this." "She is, right?" Doubt, soft, subtle, but growing. I could feel it shifting around her like air pressure before a storm. I looked at her for a second longer, then back at the entrance. Back at the guards, still calm, still composed, still exactly where I needed to be. "She's right about one thing," I said quietly. That got everyone's attention, including hers. Her eyes snapped toward me, instantly hope, just a flicker, like she thought I was about to correct everything, fix, restore her control. "There is a misunderstanding." Her shoulders lifted slightly, not fully, but enough to think she had found her way back in. But timing. Timing is everything, and it's not on their side, I added. The words landed differently this time. Heavier, sharper. Final, the flicker disappeared. Gone, replaced. With something else? Confusion, real confusion. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice no longer smooth, no longer controlled. You don't even belong here.
A word again.
Stepped a little closer. Not aggressive, not loud, just enough to close the distance between us. That's the part you got wrong, said simple, direct. And this time, there was no mistaking it. The guards shifted slightly, not toward me, toward. Subtle, but clear, like the line had already been drawn, and she was standing on the wrong side of it. I organized this event, she said quickly, the words coming. Faster now, more defensive. I approved the guest list. I made the calls. So don't stand here and act like you organized what you were told to organize. I didn't raise my voice, didn't interrupt sharply, but it cut through everything. Anyway, clean. Precise, the kind of statement that doesn't need volume to land. Silence followed. Again. But now it felt different, heavier, deeper, because something had just been exposed. Not fully, not yet, but enough to crack the surface. Her expression changed. Not just confusion now. Something closer to realization, slow. Reluctant, unwelcome. Double quotes. What does that mean? She asked. And for the first time since, I arrived. There was no attitude in her voice, no edge, no control, just a question, a real one. I held her gaze for a second, then glanced past her, toward the venue, toward the people inside, toward the night she thought she owned, then back at her, it means. I said calmly, you were never in charge of this. And just like that, the ground beneath her finally gave way. Asterisk. The words didn't just land. They settled, slow, heavy, impossible to ignore. For a second, she didn't react, not outwardly. But I could see it, the shift behind her eyes, the moment, where denial starts losing its grip and reality begins forcing its way in. Because what I said wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was something she couldn't immediately dismiss. That's not true, she said quickly, too quickly. The confidence was still there, but thinner now, fragile. I planned everything. I approved every detail. Every vendor, every guest, every decision went through me. I nodded once, calm, acknowledging, not agreeing. And who gave you that authority? I asked. That stopped her, completely. Her mouth opened, then closed. Because the answer was simple, but saying it out loud would force her to confront something she wasn't ready to admit. The room leaned in again, quietly, waiting, not for drama. For clarity, I was assigned this, she said finally. Careful. Slower now. This was my responsibility. Assigned, I repeated. The word echoed differently when it came back. Not power, not ownership. Just permission. Temporary, controlled, conditional. And suddenly, the weight of that difference became visible not just to her, but to everyone. Watching behind her, the guards remained still, but their attention hadn't shifted. It hadn't needed to. The decision had already been made. This moment, this was just the understanding catching up. You were trusted to handle it, I said. That's not the same as owning it. A murmur moved through the nearby guests. Subtle, low, but enough to confirm what people were starting to realize. She shook her head, stepping forward now, trying to reclaim space, reclaim control. No, you're twisting this. I've been running this entire event for weeks. You don't just show up and pretend I didn't show up. I didn't raise my voice. But it cut through hers instantly. I built it. Silence. Real silence this time. Because those words didn't challenge her authority. They erased it. Her expression froze, not anger, not yet. Something deeper, something heavier. The moment where everything she believed about her position started collapsing under its own weight. That's not possible, she said, quieter. Now, You weren't even present. I finished. She didn't answer. She didn't need to, because that had been her assumption from the beginning. That presence meant power. That visibility meant control, that the person standing in front was the person in charge. But that's not how it works. Not really. You handled the surface, I said calmly. The visible parts, the things people see and remember. But everything underneath, every approval, every contract, every final decision. I let the sentence hang for a second, then finished it. That didn't go through you. Her breathing changed. Slightly faster now. Not enough for everyone to notice, but enough for me, because this wasn't about proving her wrong anymore. It was about letting her understand it herself, and understanding takes time. It doesn't hit all at once. It builds, piece by piece, till there's no version of reality left where you're still right. I don't believe you, she said. But this time, it didn't sound like a statement. It sounded like hope. Hope that something would still make sense. Hope that this could still be undone. But the guard shifted again, closer now. Not to me, to her, and that was the moment it became real. Asterisk for a moment. She didn't speak, didn't move, didn't even try to argue, because something deeper than pride had just been hit. Something harder to defend. Understanding, slow, unavoidable, and visible now in the way her posture changed. Less certain, less steady, less in control. This is a joke, she said finally, but the words didn't carry the same weight anymore. It has to be. You're just trying to embarrass me. I didn't respond immediately, because this wasn't about convincing her. It was about letting the reality settle long enough for everyone else to see it clearly around us. The attention had fully shifted. No one was pretending not to watch anymore, no. One was whispering quietly. They were listening, openly, carefully, waiting because. Now, this wasn't just a private disagreement. It was something else. Something bigger. Ask them, I said calmly, nodding toward the guards. Simple, direct, impossible. To ignore, her eyes flicked toward them instantly, then back to me, then back again. Like she was searching for hesitation, for doubt, for anything that would give her an opening. There was none. They're just doing their job, she said quickly. They don't know anything about how this was organized. One of the guards spoke this time, for the first time since the shift. Yes, we do. 3 words, clear, firm, and completely steady. Her head turned sharply toward him. What does that mean? She demanded. But even her demand lacked authority now, because authority isn't just about volume. It's about position, and hers was slipping. We were given direct instructions, the guard continued. Specific names, specific access levels. Your name was included. Relief flashed across her face, fast, desperate, like she had found something to hold on to. Exactly, she said quickly. So there you go, I'm supposed to be here. The guard didn't nod, didn't agree, just continued, but not at that level. The relief vanished, instantly, replaced with something sharper. What? She said. One word, but it carried everything. Confusion, doubt, fear. You were listed as event coordinator, he said. Not hosts, not primary authority. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't just heavy, it was final, because now it wasn't coming from me. It wasn't something she could dismiss as manipulation or perspective. It was confirmation from someone. Neutral, someone with no reason to lie. No, she said, shaking her head slowly. That's not right. I made the calls. I approved everything. People answered to me. They answered, I said quietly, because they thought you were the final step. Her eyes snapped back to mine, and this time, there was no confidence. Left only realization. You were the middle, I continued, not the top. The words didn't need emphasis. They didn't need force, because the truth, when it finally lands, does the work on its own. Behind her, few guests exchanged looks, not subtle anymore, not hidden. Open, clear understanding, because now the story had flipped completely. She wasn't the one in control. She was the one who misunderstood her role, and everyone could see it. Her breathing became uneven. Her posture tightened again, this time not from confidence, from pressure, from being exposed in a way she hadn't prepared for. "I want to speak to whoever's actually in charge," she said suddenly. A last move. A final attempt to climb back up, to regain something, anything. I held her gaze for a second, then took a small step to the side, clearing the path. "Go ahead," I said calmly. And that was the moment she walked straight into the truth. Asterisk for a second. She didn't move. Not because she didn't want to, but because something in her finally understood what that step meant. Still, she took it slow, uncertain, toward the entrance she had been guarding just minutes ago, the same place where she had decided who belonged and who didn't. The guards didn't stop her. They stepped aside, not out of respect, but procedure, because sometimes truth doesn't need to be forced, it just needs to be faced. "I want to speak to the owner," she said, her voice steadier now, like she was rebuilding confidence with every step. Now, a few guests inside turned toward her. The energy had changed, curiosity, tension, expectation, because even now, part of them still believed she might be right, that this would somehow correct itself, that everything would snap back into place. "It didn't, of course," one of the guards said calmly. Then he looked at me, not subtly, not privately, openly, clearly waiting. That single, gay look did more than any explanation could. Because now, everyone saw it. Her gaze followed his, slowly, reluctantly, until it landed on me and stayed there for a moment. She didn't react, didn't blink, didn't speak, because her mind was trying to reject what her eyes were confirming. "No," she said, softly, not denial, not anger, just disbelief. "That's not possible." I didn't step forward, didn't need to. The distance between us was already filled with everything she needed to understand. "You wanted to speak to the owner," I said. Calmly, no edge, no pride, just truth. "I'm right here." The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They settled heavy, final, unavoidable. The reaction was immediate. A sharp inhale from someone nearby. A glass nearly slipping from someone's hand. Whispers no. Longer, hidden, spreading quickly through the entrance and into the venue behind her. She took a step back, then another, like distance could change what she had just heard, what she had just realized. "You," she started. But the sentence didn't finish, because there was nothing left to question. Everything had already answered itself. I gave the approvals. I continued quietly. Every contract, every vendor, every name on that list. Her shoulders dropped. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough for everyone to see. The shift was complete. "You were trusted to help," I added. "Not to decide who matters." That one landed the hardest, because that's what this had been about all along. Not the event, not the avengentation, control, and she had used it wrong. The guard stepped forward, then gentle, professional, but firm. "Ma'am." One of them said, "We're going to have to ask you to step away from the entrance." Not aggressive, not loud, but final. The same word she had tried to use on me now returned perfectly. She didn't argue, didn't fight, didn't even look at them. Her eyes stayed on me, searching, regretting, understanding, too late, as they guided her away. The crowd parted slightly, not out of respect, out of awareness, because now they knew exactly what they had witnessed. Not just a mistake, a reversal complete, unavoidable. I watched for a moment, then turned and walked inside. No announcement, no explanation, just presence. And this time, no one questioned if I belonged, because now they knew.